It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle. Oh, Tim's on vacation on the Weekly Wrap. And this is my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And I knew Chris is going to be with us, our producer in the first segment. Chris, I want to guess what Tim would have had in his background today. Maybe it's the same thing that I know that we got the picture of the tinfoil hat, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on about the attempted assassination of former President Trump. But what would you guess would be in his background?
Maybe the iconic picture.
Exactly. That's because Tim goes for the jokes, but then, he gets serious, especially around the war memorial holidays. And this one, it would be the iconic, I call it the Iwo Jima image. I mean, that's what it looked like, right? When they're all trying to hold him up to the flag. And of course, the next day, the New York Times, not that anybody reads the New York Times print edition, but they did have that picture, but they cropped off the flag. So, and because the flag's an integral part of that picture. But I got to tell you, well, first of all, I want to ask everybody, we're going to have later on in the show, Alderman Ray Lopez of the good old number 15th Ward, and Dobie Maxwell, a comedian who actually knows Donald Trump, was heckled by Donald Trump once. So we've got to get the reaction of everybody to that. But Chris, I will ask you, where were you when you heard the news?
Good question. I was at an event that had it was a very diverse population, and someone found out on their phone, and I was near a group of older African American gentlemen, and I want you to guess what their reaction might have been.
Well, since Trump is very popular now, of course, Biden isn't popular with anybody. I just saw polls showing that he had dropped like 30% among Black women, which, I mean, that's the end of the ball game. We should talk about Biden, because when this show runs, I mean, the entire product that we're putting out right now may be moved, because my prediction is that we're taping this on Thursday afternoon, that Biden, as part of a Friday afternoon news dump so that nobody notices, will resign at that time. When do you think? You think he's out, right?
If you go by trends on Twitter, it's trending right now is Kamala Harris, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom. So you take your pick there, right? You
can't have Kamala and Gretchen Whitmer together. I mean, that's like having two chicks hosting the Today Show. Oh wait, they do have two chicks, and it works.
They can only be Secret Service agents, right?
I mean, when it happened, and we'll get back to your experience on it. When it happened, I mean, I'm immediately following on Twitter, and I found out, as Abe Greenwald, this will be my first commentary magazine reference. Just keep tabs on that. What's the over or under on references to commentary? Probably 6. I'm going to say, but especially without Tim here, I'll use it as a crutch. It has been 7. Okay, so Abe Greenwald tweeted, 20 years from now, people are going to be asking, what were you doing on the phone, on your iPhone when you heard the news? And I tweeted back to him the New York Times spelling bee, and he actually liked that tweet. So 1 degree of separation between me and Commentary Magazine. All right, so let's go back to these. So I'm going to say that they were aghast. They were the African American gentleman. That was their. Am I right or wrong?
A group of us huddle around the phone and watch the whole 2-minute scenario there as it plays out, and the only words, like 1-word responses, were gangster, effing Trump, badass, things like that.
But good
in a positive.
Yeah, I mean, it was as everybody's saying, it is that the moment of badassery for Donald Trump. Considering I said it really makes up for the bone spurs, getting out of Vietnam, because I mean, I would have been hiding behind that Melissa McCarthy character, Secret Service agent, as much as I could. You know, if I would have ducked down. I mean, why they didn't have like Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark drafted as Secret Service, somebody tall enough to cover Trump. Now, is it true that he wears lifts in his shoes? And if so, why? He's a tall guy to begin with.
I want to know where you found that out from.
Well, I mean, it's
I've
a
never heard
rumor.
that. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's the internet. I believe everything I read on the internet. You know that.
he's already 6'3".
Yeah, what would he need to do that for? But maybe he's so vain, and maybe he wants, because he's a little heavy set these days. He wants the height weight ratio, the body mass index, to be artificially inflated or lowered, by the lifts. I don't know that that's even true. So I mean, we're having enough time dealing with the true things right now. So yeah, mixed audience and people. There were those holdouts who, first of all, and we could get into the conspiracy theories right now, who believed that the whole thing was rigged, that he wasn't really hit by a bullet. They thought that it was teleprompter glass, although the teleprompters look intact, all those things. It's not good that we're not getting news out of Trump's camp as to what his condition is, although it seems obvious. I mean, he got part of his ear blown off. But what are those?
Let's go straight to the big one, which is
right.
AKA the grassy knoll. The second shooter. Have you heard about this one, Bruce?
I just assumed there would be a second shooter. First of all, I have seen somebody tweeted that that the bullet touched Trump, but actually killed Biden. Metaphorically speaking, I call it the magic bullet then, hearkening back to 1963. But so there's a shooter on the top of the water tower.
Yes, you haven't seen this one. Okay, so
I know. I mean, I'd heard something of it.
You will.
Right.
I mean, you will. It's far away. It's blurry, but you do see right when it happens. There appears to be someone or something there.
It looks like Yeti to me, or the Loch Ness monster. I'm not sure. It might. So it's good that we can laugh about this.
But it does disappear after he pops out here. This is right when the shooting happens. And then at the end, we'll see here, kind of somewhat disappears. The trajectory of this one now also this one, there is some, I don't want to call it verification, but I don't know if you've gone through the interviews after the shooting, there's, I want to say 5-6 people that were interviewed that talk about the second shooter at the water tower. They keep saying it.
I didn't hear them specify the water tower. I mean, you heard these eyewitnesses. I mean, everybody saying the assassin is over there. I mean, can you imagine if in 1963, there were people pointing up to the was it the 5th floor or the 6th floor of the Texas Book Depository? I've been there, and saying, "Hey, there's a guy standing in it." I think even with the primitive 1963 technology available, that somebody would have gotten into somebody's earpiece and said, "Hey, why don't you not have Trump appear on stage?" I mean, that's the crucial thing right now, right? That they knew at 10 minutes beforehand and still let him on stage.
They're now saying 20 minutes.
20 minutes, whatever. I mean, if it was 20 seconds, why would they let him go on stage? Of course, I mean, I even thought, is a conspiracy theory, that Trump said, "The hell with it, I'm going on," because he is a microphone hog. I mean, I don't know how much it was heroism, for him, or badassery for him to get up, or just like, hey, I mean, I love my audiences. This is what I live for. So, because it was kind of foolhardy to get up, but it made the moment. I mean, he absolutely seized the moment there. And
let me ask you, Bruce, did you get chills when you saw him get up and do the fist bump?
I didn't get chills, but I will say this. I did say at the time, no mere professional golfer is going to fist pump again. As a matter of fact, I don't think anybody else can ever fist pump, because Donald Trump owns that. I didn't get chills, but man, and I have problems with him and everything. I mean, I voted for him twice, and I plan on voting for him again. But I got a lot of problems with the guy. But I mean, we all contain multitudes, and that I mean, that was a moment, and it was jaw dropping, actually. I mean, it really was. I mean, as we speaking right now, he's scheduled to speak tonight at the convention. And I don't want to predict what the tone will be, but I imagine it's going to be in keeping with this conciliatory or lower the temperature mode, especially since he doesn't know as of this moment who his opponent is going to be. So there's nobody. Why attack sleepy, COVID-ridden Joe? Talk about conspiracy theories. A lot of people don't even believe that Biden had COVID, but and even if he does have it, according to his doctor, he wasn't even running a temperature. So
that's what the Van Jones comment of yesterday was. Trump can survive a bullet and Biden can't even survive the flu or something like that.
Right. I mean, they're totally piling on. I mean, all the politicians, Adam Schiff, it was gratuitous really because he doesn't need it. He's going to win his Senate campaign in California. And of course, the reason they're going to the public is that apparently Biden hasn't relented yet. I mean, I just think Biden is such an evil, dastardly, horrible human being that I kind of hope he holds on for that sake, just to show how much of a King Lear-like character he is, and just remains true to form. You'd hate for him to do the profile and courage thing and the statesman-like thing and drop down. Although I'm wondering what kind of threats they can make, because I mean, he can pardon everybody before he leaves. I don't know what kind of leverage you have against him. What do you got?
Well, but then wouldn't they hold off on some of these? He's gone. Say if you do this and you lose, they hold off, and then they can do the investigations and the trials when he's gone. Then he can't pardon everybody. You're pre.
I think you may be able to do a clean sweep blanket. I don't know exactly how that works, but they're not going to go. The Republicans aren't going to go after him. That's the thing. Donald Trump, for all the lawfare, talk and everything about going after his enemies, he didn't go after Hillary after he got elected, and he's not going to do it. He's got bigger fish to fry. Bruce Wolf, and coming up, Alderman Ray Lopez of the good old number 15th Ward on the Weekly Wrap.
Marshall posted to her personal Facebook page several posts that seemed to encourage the suspect that attempted to take President Donald Trump's life. This is what she said on the screen. Adams County Sheriff Travis Patton received calls from United States Secret Service agents trying to locate Marshall. Patton said that Marshall did comply with agents and was apologetic, stating that her posts were for comic value. She has since deleted her posts. We did reach out to Representative Benny Thompson on the controversy. He merely said, quote, "I was made aware of the post made by a staff member, and she is no longer in my employment," end quote.
Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And you know what? I don't think that assistant of Benny Thompson has to worry at all, because events subsequent to that have overshadowed everything. Tim Slagle not here this week, and we're pleased to be joined by Alderman Ray Lopez of the 15th Ward. Thanks for being with us again, Alderman. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure, Bruce. Happy to be here.
Okay. What an impressive office you have behind you.
You ever wanted to see
a tour of your books and pictures?
A wall of functioning tchotchkes. There it is.
the tchotchkes. Okay. So I don't know if you're probably following on Twitter, and we're taping this on Thursday afternoon, and news is breaking even as we speak. The latest I have heard is that Mark Halperin, this political analyst and he's a Democrat. He's the guy who actually was the first, I believe, to say in 2015 that we should take Donald Trump seriously when nobody else, including all the Republican strategists, weren't taking him seriously. But he's reporting that President Biden is out. He's going to be leaving, and he is not going to endorse Kamala Harris, and he's endorsing the idea of an open convention, which will be just a few blocks north of your ward at the United Center in a few weeks. And how do you react to? I mean, I don't know. This hasn't been corroborated, obviously, yet. But how do you react to the whole situation that's going on with the president?
I find it remarkable, Bruce, just remarkable that you have a Democratic Party which apparently was completely unaware of Joe Biden's declining faculties until 2 weeks ago. How nobody knew this for the past 4 years, that this man was having issues and that they might become a problem when you had a campaign in public again, is beyond me. And the fact that everyone pushed and pushed him through the primaries, they didn't bother challenging him. They weren't concerned. But now, after all of the voting by actual voters has lapsed, now they want to switch everything up and do a coup d'etat, if you will, French style, to get rid of our president and put in whomever they want that hasn't been picked by Democratic voters. It's just insane to me.
I've been around this planet just a few years more than you. I mean, I actually remember the '68 convention on Michigan and Belleville, in Chicago, and all the rioting then. And there's going to be a lot going on this year. I mean, Chicago's going to be the center of the universe in just a few weeks. But it's interesting. One of the disadvantages, of course, that Kamala Harris will have if she is the nominee, is that the Republicans are going to be able to say, well, what did you know and when did you know it, regarding the health of Biden, whom she supposedly was close to all this time. And, one of the strong suits for the Democrats is that Trump is Trump does have a lot of bluster, and his rhetoric gets way out of hand, and he's been charged in 4 or 5 different cases, but that could be vitiated, washed away by the fraud that was perpetrated on the public by the Biden administration and Kamala Harris. This is an admission that this just didn't happen in the last 2 weeks or since the debate. So, I mean, at this point, who do you like for the nominee for your party coming up if it's not Joe Biden?
Well, I've already officially declined, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm not putting my hat in the ring for president of the United States. But you know what? I think that as a party, the Democrats are going to be in a huge disadvantage, notwithstanding everything you just said about Donald Trump and his bluster and his likability because of everything he's gone through, but because of the fact that the Republicans and the MAGA and everybody else on that side of the aisle will always stand behind their nominee. 34 felonies later, they're still standing behind their nominee. The Democratic Party, on the other hand, as you said, is going to have an open fight, swinging and getting wild and crazy both in and outside of the United Center. And whoever is picked is not going to be able to unite the party behind them. Because as we've seen, like with Bernie Sanders and all of the other, back when the last time we had a contentious anything going into a presidential election, it was hard getting the Bernie bros to support Hillary Clinton. A lot of them just chose to stay home. And Democratic voters, especially younger ones, tend to be all or nothing. You pass my litmus test or I don't come off my mom's couch and vote for you. And, and we're going to have that.
Oh, you're coming out swinging. Look, I got to tell you, I hate to be the old hand here lecturing the young alderman from the 15th ward, but you are a young man. So in 1968, Mayor Daley, and I'm talking about the first one, okay, is sitting there as a delegate to the convention, and Senator Abraham Ribicoff, a liberal, is up on the rostrum, and he is lecturing Mayor Daley about what's going on in the streets, because some people called it a police riot. Some people said the yippies and the hippies deserved what they got. We'll leave that for another day. And you can see Daley is like yelling at him and swearing at him. And I'm thinking right now that was a picnic compared to what's going to be coming up in a few weeks in Chicago, because this is a free for all. And I don't remember, not in my lifetime, or certainly in my conscious lifetime, these conventions have been nothing other than very much a packaged program like the Republicans did this week. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't been this free for all, and it's going to be that this time. So yeah, and again, I ask you, I put the question to you, do you see anybody out there who could be the candidate? Because Biden was the candidate who was going to capture the middle, and then he tacked to his left during his administration.
Yeah.
And now he's just too old. Who is there? Josh Shapiro, Amy Klobuchar from last time. When you hear of the possibility, what name comes up in your head?
You know, maybe it's a testament to how poorly we have prepared a bench, but there's no real name that I get excited about. You know, I know we talk about J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, maybe even Eric Adams as possibilities, but none of them really get my goat. None of them do I feel enthused that I'd be like, you know what, that's the next generation of Democratic Party leadership right there. And I think that, you know, Republicans will eventually have that same dilemma after this cycle. But I think that they have a wider breadth of individuals on that side of the aisle who can be pointed to as up and comers. Whereas on our side, you know, you've got the Senator Cory Brooks and a few others out there, but none of them are inspirational in terms of getting the electorate, the Democratic Party's core, energized. None of them resonate with the Black community the way that we would hope they do. And I say that intentionally after just mentioning Senator Brooks. None of them really inspire our Latino brothers and sisters and our women. And if you don't have that, you know, it's going to be a dud and a snooze for the party when it comes to who's going to be the replacement, because you're going to just get a battle to the bottom, for lack of a better expression. That's not going to really inspire anyone to come out and take out Donald Trump.
You know, speaking of who's on the bench for the Republicans, and I don't know how much attention you're paying to this, but J.D. Vance did give a speech last night. A, did you see it? B, I mean, even if you didn't, do you have any opinion whatsoever of him, or is he a blank slate to you?
You know, I think that I will give Trump credit for picking him. I was actually kind of surprised, but I'll give him credit for picking him because, as Abraham Lincoln did, you have to assemble a team of rivals if you want to get things moving. And you don't need yes men, but you need people who are principled and willing to stand up for their beliefs. And the fact that he picked J.D. Vance, who at one point was against Trump and spoke out against him, but now shows that he's willing to work with him, I think sets a very interesting tone for making the case for unity on the Republican side. Now, whether that translates to the rest of the voting public, we shall see. But I think that, you know, he has a very interesting family life. I believe he's a convert to Catholicism, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Which resonates, and you're going to have a lot of Catholics trying to find a place to go in this election, since we have a Catholic president who absolutely rubs them the wrong creepy way every time he sniffs someone. So
look, I have to tell you, I actually have to disagree with you. I mean, I grant you that J.D. Vance has a Horatio Alger, you know, type story. I mean, coming up from his hillbilly roots, and I don't know if you've seen Hillbilly Elegy, but although he didn't grow up poor, he wasn't really poor, but he, you know, had a dysfunctional family, and he's a great writer too. But I think, and I got this from Kevin Williamson at the Morning Dispatch, but I kind of knew it ahead of time. I think he's kind of a sycophant, and that's why a reason Trump picked him, because he's enough of a chameleon that he was able to be anti-Trump 8 years ago, and then he realizes what he needed to do to get where he is. And his speech wasn't all that electric, but it wasn't supposed to be, because you don't really want to Trump. Yeah. Right. So anyway, it's interesting. I like getting the Democratic perspective on that.
And he's not Mike Pence.
Oh, totally not. I mean, right. That's another story on what he would have done about the election. We should bring that up when we come back. Bruce Wolf and Alderman Ray Lopez on the Weekly Wrap.
Now, you may be wondering why I'm up here telling you this. I'm no politician, and I don't want to be. But I do care about the truth. And the truth is that the media has lied to us about Donald Trump. I know this because for a long time I believed those lies, so I'm here to set the record straight. The first person I knew who supported Donald Trump was my father. I was shocked. My entire family is racially diverse, and I believed the left-wing propaganda that Donald Trump was a racist. My father said, "No, he's not, Amber. What are you talking about?" And when I insisted, he said, "Prove it." So to prove my father wrong, I did my research and looked into all things Donald Trump. I watched all the rallies, and I started meeting so many of you, his red hat wearing supporters.
Bruce Wolf, not Tim Slagle. Tim Slagle is off, and we're pleased to be joined by Alderman Ray Lopez of the 15th Ward on the Weekly Wrap. Thanks again to Alderman for joining us. And we were talking about J.D. Vance and what he brings to the table. It's interesting. This is how canny Trump is. J.D. Vance doesn't actually believe that the election was rigged. Which, I mean, you think about January 6th, but he was interviewed by Ross Douthat of the New York Times, and he said he came up with this really kind of oily, greasy answer. He said that there should have been these electors from the different states that were in contention, and then there should have been a debate over this. But when Douthat pressed him, he said, well, Biden still probably would have won. Now, that is not what drove the Viking-headed head man, to storm the Capitol. They didn't want some kind of process whereby, there were different slates of electors. They believed that this election was rigged, and that's what. But yet J.D. Vance actually kind of, finessed that whole thing. So there you go. I mean, and that it may be a testament to the smart political ability of Donald Trump, who seems to be tacking to the center. I mean, there's a lot of overlap between the Democratic and Republican platforms. I mean, think about what's not in the GOP platform. It's not no gun control, no pro-life, same-sex marriage. So it's a different Republican Party, and this is going to be formidable. And I'm wondering if even the likes of J.B. Pritzker even want to get into this mess at this late date this time around.
Well, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to catch up to where Donald Trump finds himself, especially in his post-pierced ear fundraising phenomenon. Because he made what, $50 million after that shoot, some ridiculous amount of money. And you're right. They aren't pushing all of those cards that we've known and heard them tout for years right now, because look, people know that they are not for LGBT equality the way Democrats are. They're not as for women's reproductive rights the way Democrats are. We know this already. And I think that Republicans strategically chose not to make them at the forefront because they know the Democrats have a weak presidential candidate right now. It might be even worse in a couple weeks for them. So, as the saying goes, when you see a train wreck, all you do is just get out the way. And right now, I think the Republican Party, which Donald Trump, are just saying, sit over here, smile for the cameras, say your prayer on TV, and shut up. Because the Democrats are almost on full implosion mode right now, tripping over themselves to get rid of the incumbent so that they could put someone yet to be discovered against Donald Trump.
I'm asking everybody, where were you when somebody just said 20 years from now, what were you doing on your phone when you heard about Trump, the assassination attempt on him? What were you doing when you heard about him? What was your reaction to the whole thing?
So I actually, Bruce, just got back from Ireland. I was on vacation in Ireland when I started getting all these alerts 6 hours ahead of when this happened. So we're like 6 hours ahead. If I remember correctly, this was I forget what time it was, but I would think I was like nighttime where I was at. And
were you still in Ireland when this happened?
I was still in Ireland when this happened.
Okay, so this probably happened about like 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was like 12:31, something along those around the time. And my phone's blowing up. One eye open in bed, and I'm like, first I thought this was one of those onion things, or a Babylon Bee video.
Sure.
But then apparently it was true. And it was just incredible that an assassination attempt. I couldn't believe it. I was actually shocked and very disappointed. And I think I was one of the first people in Chicago to say that it's un-American to act like this, that this is not how we win elections.
Right.
But it was.
And I have to ask you, which conspiracy theory do you subscribe to regarding this?
I believe that this is Lee Harvey Oswald's great grandchild
Right.
with the JFK rifle.
Well, it is some, like the magic bullet that is, going from Dallas all the way to here, and manages somehow to miss Donald Trump. I don't know what's going to be coming out in the next few hours on this, but as of this writing, the big question is, if the Secret Service knew about this 10 or 20 minutes ahead of time, why was Donald Trump allowed to take the stage? It makes absolutely no sense, right?
Having worked for the city and having both as alderman and then previously under the Daley administration and other roles, I remember when Secret Service comes to town. I've had to be around areas where Barack Obama has been. I've been in areas where Bill Clinton has been. And I remember the Secret Service literally would have like a 1 mile footprint wherever the president was going to be. They check sewers, they check roofs. You've got snipers here, there, everywhere. And how is it 500 feet away, you can access a barn looking down on the president of the presidential candidate, and nobody notices? Nobody sees the creepy long-haired guy stalking around in the background.
People did notice it, and they told the cops.
Well, that's what I mean. The police, law enforcement, and it really worries me, to be honest with you, Bruce, even though I know my mayor said yesterday, oh, don't worry, we have everything under control.
Oh, right.
When we talk about the DNC coming here, we talk about in City Hall, the fact that we have a secured footprint where federal and state and local police are in coordination and X, Y, and Z. That should happen wherever there's a president or presidential candidate. And yet here we are going to have thousands of elected officials here in the city of Chicago following I can't be a sniper on a slope roof mentality. I just don't know how.
What do you think about the security in Chicago? At least we're going to have ShotSpotter. But what?
At least throughout till the end of the convention, anyway.
Yeah, but yeah. What about are there heightened security concerns in Chicago, especially given this and the fact that this is going to be the wildest political convention since I don't know, the 19th century?
It's going to be crazy because we already knew that there were people who were planning on descending upon our city, those paid agitators, as well as all those professional rioters, protesters, and the like, when it was just Joe Biden. What's going to happen when you have the people who don't like Gavin Newsom show up, or the people who don't like the governor from Pennsylvania showing up, or this one or that one? All hell's going to break loose in this city. And when we've been teaching our police officers to respect human dignity and to hope that hugs and kisses and unicorns make everyone act nice for those protests that we told them they don't need permits anymore while burning American flags, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy.
I really got a kick out of it when Mayor Johnson said that everything went to hell when Nixon got elected. The reason is because I knew who he was referring to. I mean, so many of the cultural references nowadays are to rappers and other people. I mean, who's this Amber Rose that we just showed before? It's the first time I heard of her. But Nixon, I know. And it's interesting that we still have Dick Nixon to kick around. But how did you react to that when Mayor Johnson kind of laid it at the feet of the 37th president? Oh, no, he was 37th, right? Well,
I love that right off the bat, Second City Cop immediately had "It's not my fault" with the Richard Nixon face t-shirt for sale. They're already merchandising off it. But, Bill Daley, Mayor Daley's brother, former chief of staff, secretary in the federal government, all that, said it best. Mayors are successful when they take control and ownership of the problems and try to find solutions forward. I have yet to hear this mayor focus on solutions forward, but he's point the finger backwards plenty of times whose fault it is He blamed Lori, he blamed Rahm, he blamed two dailies, and yet he thinks he's going to be here as the longest serving mayor in the history of Chicago. You know, at some point you need to drive the car looking forward, not out the rear view mirror, because the further back he goes, I figured that's why he was taking away the George Washington.
Yeah, he's going all the way back to George Washington. Now he kind of backpedaled on that, didn't he? Or
well,
but
first
he
they
did.
said it was something Lori started, and then he said, no, I'm not concerned about that. But I'm waiting for him to say that if it wasn't for George Washington founding America, we wouldn't have a racist country right now. So
right. Well, I actually when the mayor said that, you know, I think I tweeted something like George Washington saying, "Thanks, Dick Nixon, for doing me a solid here," because I was taking all the heat right now. But so did you? I don't know if this is in your ward. There's a mural of Donald Trump in Inglewood. Have you seen this?
I have.
Is that in your ward, or you're in West Inglewood?
It's near it. Not
Okay.
in it, but it's maybe less than half a mile out.
Is that some sort of cultural totem that is significant to you, or no? Just
No,
overall?
but it's hilarious.
Oh, I mean, is it meant to be lampooning Donald Trump, or
No,
I can't-
I think it's in support of him, to be honest
yeah,
with
that's
you.
what it looks like. It
I
looks
think
like
it's in
it's
support.
very positive. I mean, is it indicative of anything, or just you know?
Well, I definitely believe, and I had a conversation with one of my colleagues yesterday about just how much support Donald Trump may get from the Black community. And this colleague of mine is an African American member of the city council, and he expects 34% of the vote to go to Donald Trump from the Black community. And that is very dangerous for any Democratic candidate, especially in not a city like Chicago, because obviously they'll still win the Black community. It's just not overwhelmingly, but it won't matter. But in states where it is a swing state, states like Pennsylvania, states like Michigan, states like Georgia, where you need 100% unity in the Black voting base, any distraction or detraction from that is going to have an impact on that Democratic nominee. And I think that what Trump speaks to, particularly when it comes to immigrants, resonates loudly within the Black community. This feeling that he's being persecuted through prosecution unfairly resonates with the Black community. And now you got a bullet wound for speaking up, standing up. Again, just one more log for the fire in the Black community. So
I think Donald Trump is going to use what you just said here as one of his commercials to take Illinois. Thank you so much, Alderman Lopez, for joining us. We appreciate it. Bruce Wolf on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, no Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, but stand-up comedians are fungible. We got Dobie Maxwell instead. Our dear friend Dobie, how you doing?
Doing good. The lefty is in from the bullpen to strike out the side.
Well, I gotta tell you, actually, you're very relevant because you're the only person in my orbit who actually knows Donald Trump. Well, certainly you were heckled by Donald Trump
I was.
when you're doing a stand, and you've told this story a couple of times.
We
don't have to hear the whole thing again, although we could hear the Twitter thread version of it. But I know he wound up, he heckled you, but then he said you're a funny guy. He flip-flopped is what he did, right?
No, he did. I was opening for Rosie O'Donnell, for those who haven't heard the story. It's real quick, in Florida, and he came in. It was a special deal. They snuck him in at the dark. He wasn't the president, but he was still pretty well known. And he started heckling in the dark, and I nailed it pretty well. If I had it on video, it would have gone viral, and I would be charging big money to appear on your show.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm doing it because I like you.
So Dobie, since you have a personal stake in this, I'm asking everybody because
am I a suspect in the assassination?
Well,
attempt?
I'm trying to make a connection to Jack Ruby, so maybe I can make a connection to you. So, where were you when you got the news about Donald Trump?
It was texted to me by a Democrat, almost gloatingly. And I thought, you know what? Is that what American politics or life is boiled down to? I don't want Joe Biden to get assassinated. I just want him to get his head out of Uranus and serve the country.
to go
Yeah,
away.
how about you? That's it's one of those 9/11 type moments, though. It's like I thought, I looked at the text, I thought, no, this can't be true, and went online, and it was true.
Yeah. And then did you watch the replay in times?
You
We
know,
had game. We
yes.
were yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like
we did
I mean,
watch.
the Zapruder tape, the film was something back then. Now everybody's Zapruder.
The
Everybody's got
Zapruder tape, the Zapruder, that we didn't get to see the Zapruder film until like the 1970s.
that. I
You
didn't
think
know.
you think, oh yeah, the Zapruder film, but nobody got to see it
I read the book.
for a long time. But we were doing so when I got the news. I was on my phone, of
Mhm.
course, doing the New York Times spelling bee,
Sure.
and I got so rudely interrupted. And I was at my daughter's house and her husband and their 4 kids, and the 10-year-old actually said, "This is not suitable for children," and he shut off the TV. I think he just wanted to watch something else. But it took me back to when I was 10 and Kennedy
Right.
was assassinated, and I thought the whole thing would blow over by 6 o'clock at night so I could watch Rocky and his friends on Channel 9. That's the perspective of a 10-year-old. But maybe he's more mature.
Turns out Lee Harvey Oswald was one of Rocky's friends.
Just so I just so you watched it, and then we were watching, and there was a guy in a green hat behind Trump, and he kind of gets up and he moves around, and and so we started talking about Green Hat Man because it was like a drinking game we were playing, because we saw the replay so many times. I mean, that's all you can do. You vamp for a few hours showing the same tape over and over again. But how about Trump just getting up off the floor, off the mat?
I got to say, we talk about pro wrestling usually every time that I'm on. This is a perfect wrestling script. It's called juicing, when a wrestler cuts himself and bleeds, and it gets to get sympathy and empathy from the audience, whether good or bad. And this is exactly the same thing. It was perfectly in the script.
Dobie, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, because I have a guy who follows me on Twitter. His name is Nate's Fortunate Son, and he comes up with these really crazy things. And he said, when Trump dunked it under the podium, I thought of you to bring this up with you. It reminded me of a wrestling match between Killer Kowalski and Pepper Gomez. Gomez was hit with a folding chair. Then Killer took a razor blade from his trunks and cut Gomez's forehead enough so it bled profusely. Could Trump have taken a foreign object from his shoe lifts for dramatic effect? I mean, it's interesting. All things. I knew there was a reason we were having you on this week, and
it all boils down to wrestling. I will say this, though, Bruce. I have a friend of mine who is a ballistic expert, and it frightens me to know that I have a friend who is a ballistic expert. And he went on and told me that he analyzed it the first thing, and he said it was not fake by the rhythm of the gunshots and whatever he could say. I was lost, but he seems to think that it was legit and it was not fake, because I know that came up. It was, I mean, think about it. To turn your head and to have it missed by inches, it could have easily been a chimney in the back of our former president's head.
It was unbelievable.
Miraculous. I mean, it's just, I don't think our generation will even know. Your grandchildren will look at say, man, I remember when that happened, and Grandpa just didn't make a big deal about it. But wow, Trump should be dead. He really should. I hate to say it, but he should.
And we're taping this before he gives his speech on Thursday night at the convention. Events like this can really change. I got to think they at least have you reeling for a while. I mean, sure. I just don't. It's just hard for me to believe that the tenor of Trump's campaign, the language will be anything like it was before. I mean, part of it will be because his opponent is going to be whoever, but it just doesn't. I just think it would just kind of sober you up. I don't know. Maybe this is something you recover from within 48 hours, and then you're back to the way you were. I don't think I'd be.
Think about this, Bruce. The guy's a billionaire. You could hang out, buy an island, have all the delivered pizzas that he wants, watch all the Three Stooges without Shemp that he wants to. He doesn't back out, and he doesn't give up, and we're all flawed human beings, but the more he does, the more he impresses me. Yes, he heckled me, and you look at him, yes, he's a blowhard, but man, he is proving himself to be an American hero, and I know I will get condemned by 90% of my comedian cohorts for saying that, but the more I see him, the more I admire him, and the more I am behind him. If he's scamming us and he's a con man, well, he's the best con man ever, because I'm all in.
look, I mean, at the very least, there's a lot of bluster there, but that actually happened. I mean, no matter what Joy Reid says, and some others, but that happened, and I wonder how many of us would get up off the ground and do that.
Do you think the kid? I mean, come on. Did you really expect the American public to believe that the kid climbed up there and did it himself? That's Lee Harvey Oswald, 21st century version.
So you're a conspiracy theorist, right?
No, I'm a conspiracy realist. Conspiracies 72-0. It's better than the Bulls 70-win season. The conspiracies
here's the thing.
Right.
But here's the problem.
Okay.
It's so stupid. All these things that happen that, I mean, it's too dumb to have been planned. It's just ridiculous. I mean, what this guy's like a Lee Harvey Oswald patsy. He was 20 years old.
They probably, did you see the video that just came out of allegedly it's him saying you got the wrong guy? I'll forward it to you. It's supposedly it's him, and they showed the picture again of him when he was 14. Now he's 20. Well, a lot of things happen. Puberty kicks in. His left one dropped and got hair on it. He's a different kid.
But I
don't know what's true, Bruce. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know.
As of this writing, I have no idea how the director of the Secret Service with a straight face could answer any questions. That's one thing. But how they had 10 or 20
Pinkerton security guards for the Secret Service? They got to be all fired. I can't believe they got the third string.
Well, but I mean, they had advance notice, and they didn't
do anything.
Keep him off the stage. They didn't keep him off the stage. I mean, they should have kept him off the stage. All right. Well, I'm sure this will all be cleared up. Our whole broadcast will be moot because it'll all be cleared up in the next 18 hours.
Or never moot.
There was this rumor that Trump, and I even mentioned it when that Nate's Fortunate Son thing that I read, that he's got lifts in his shoes. When you saw him, when he heckled you, did he have lifts in it? Why would a guy?
Well, he was sitting in the dark, so I really didn't see his shoes. Don't even know if he was wearing shoes. He was with Marla Maples. That's how long ago this was.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that was a while back.
That is really. How many wives ago was that? Marla was the second one, I think.
I think he had Zsa Zsa for a while. Who was the other?
Yeah,
one?
right.
Gene Stapleton he was married to for a brief minute.
Sure. He had all of those. I remember that.
All the babes.
Bob Newhart died. Did you
know?
No. Oh yeah, I'm giving you the news.
Oh, okay. But when you and I worked at the Loop, Spike Manton and I were supposed to interview Bob Newhart, and his people called and said, "You're the last ones of the day. Bob is tired." And I said, "We're comedians. We don't care if we interview. We just want to shake his hand and tell him he's worshipped." And he said, "No, I'm sorry." So I never got a chance to meet him. I'm very sorry.
Oh my goodness.
What a legend.
Well, screw Bob Newhart then.
No. He was great. I'm just trying.
I'm kidding.
Was he from Chicago? I thought he was from.
Yes, he was from Chicago, and even when the opening of that show that he did when he was the therapist shows him on the L, going to his office in downtown Chicago, and the routines he did where he'd do these phone conversations one-sided, and he was a security guard when King Kong is on the Empire State Building, and he's saying. He's got a broom, but he's telling the supervisor, I can't really try to go after him above his navel, because that's his head is beyond my jurisdiction. I mean, just stuff like that. I mean, he was absolutely tremendous.
Shelley Berman says that Newhart took his whole shtick.
Who?
Shelley Berman was very upset. with Bob Newhart.
Yes, I know. There's a war. There was a war between Shelley Berman.
When you piss Shelley Berman off, it's over.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible. That's horrible. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, Nate's Fortunate Son took the wrestling shtick from you. And anyway, Dobie, thanks so much for joining us.
Anytime, Bruce. I'm a fan.
Absolutely. Love it. Bruce Wolf, Dobie Maxwell. We also want to thank Alderman Ray Lopez on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.